The City of Phoenix Water Services Department is more than 100 years old and treats and distributes tap water to 1.5 million customers daily. It also manages the city sewer system and handles wastewater treatment operations for 2.5 million residents in 5 valley cities. Hello, I'm Deborah Cedillo-Dugan and welcome to another City Update. And today we're talking water and a proposed water rate increase. Joining me today is Water Director Catherine Sorensen and Denise Olson. She's the Acting Chief Financial Officer. Thank you so much for being with us today, both of you.
Thank you.
Catherine, I'm going to start with you. Give us a big picture overview about the Water Services Department. You do so much for our community.
Right, so we make sure that approximately 1.5 million people across our water service territory have clean, safe water every day. We also collect wastewater when homes and businesses are finished using it. We treat it, recycle it, and reuse it for aquifer recharge and for ecosystem restoration.
Okay, so we're talking about just basic tap water, but there's much more that your water department does with the sewer lines, the infrastructure, all of that. Talk a little bit about that as well.
So approximately 1,500 employees work for us, and what they do is make sure that our residents have clean and safe water to drink every day. We make sure that the wastewater is treated so that it is safe to release back into the environment and for ecosystem restoration. We also make sure that we have enough supplies now and into the future. That's a big part of what we do, is making sure that we have enough water for public health, economic opportunity, and of course, quality of life.
Absolutely, and you know, water obviously is so important to our survival and everything that we do, from drinking water to swimming in our pools to water in our lawns, and you obviously play a huge role in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, and we operate a really tremendous amount of infrastructure. I think that's something that people don't always understand. We have several water treatment plants, 2 enormous wastewater treatment plants, 7,000 miles of pipelines, 5,000 miles of sewer pipelines, 300 remote facilities, wells, pump stations, pressure reducing valves. It's a very complicated system. It's a huge undertaking to make sure that so many people across such a large territory have safe drinking water.
Right, and you know, I think, as we just mentioned, a lot of people may take that for granted. You know, the drinking water, you know, taking a dip in the pool, watering their lawn, things like that. Well, thanks for giving that big picture overview. So why now these proposed water rate increase?
So infrastructure really is the driver of rate increases for the Water Services Department, because we have so many pipelines, so many facilities, because these facilities are very industrial and complicated in nature. That's where we spend most of our money, is in making sure that that infrastructure is reliable so that we can continue to serve our residents. So the rehabilitation and replacement of aging infrastructure in particular really drives our need for rate increases over time.
Okay, so Denise, I'm gonna go to you right now too, as the Acting Chief Financial Officer for the Water Department. What are we talking about, and how do we even come up with that number?
So we do a rigorous analysis of what the Water Department submits to us in terms of their budget every year. And one thing I want to add here is the Water Department is a AAA rated, so that's high standards as far as
absolutely.
Their financial criteria for that means we have to maintain a certain source of revenue that comes in every year. And it's a very complex finance structure. We have a lot of debt that we issue for them. So we need to maintain these rates and have rate increases to support the rehabilitation of their program and to make sure we keep that AAA bond rating.
So when's the last time the City of Phoenix did in fact have a rate increase?
I believe the last time we had a rate increase was in 2013.
Okay, so we're the 6th largest city in the country. How are we comparing to other cities? And you still haven't told me what that proposed rate increase and how it's going to impact our families.
So it's only going to be $1.60 a month for an average single family. And it's, when you compare our rates to other Southwest cities, we're very low. When you compare us to the top 20 cities, we're actually the 4th lowest. So we're very comparable to other cities our size.
So Catherine, I'm going to go back to you as the director. How does this come about? Like, again, why now? I mean, how has the city been surviving with not having a proposed rate increase in several years?
Right, so over time we've been able to really realize some very large efficiencies in our operations, and we were able to also reprioritize our capital improvement program to make sure we're spending our ratepayers' money as wisely as possible. And through some of those savings, we've been able to go several years now without a rate increase. But the cost of operations continues to increase, and our infrastructure continues to age. If we don't stay on top of that replacement and rehabilitation of our infrastructure, we really leave a problem for future ratepayers.
Okay, now let's talk again how residents can find out more about these proposed rate increases and how they can get involved or even provide maybe comments.
Right, so we're going to be reaching out to the community very extensively throughout the month of November to get their input and their comments about this proposed rate increase. We're going to have several open houses. We're going to have a website where people can submit email and email us their comments if they don't have time to show up in person. We want to make sure that this is a community undertaking. It's really important to remember that the water and sewer systems are owned by the people of the city of Phoenix. It belongs to them. They need to have a strong voice in rate recommendations and how the utilities are run.
Now, as far as staffing too, Denise, will you be there, I guess, talking money for some people that may have a question
if
about
anyone
that
had questions
$1.60?
about the money, we will be there to support the water department.
Excellent.
Correct.
And that's a really good point too when you say comparing us to other cities, you know, the top 20 cities, especially probably on the East Coast and other cities that, you know, are using quite a bit of water too. We are still pretty much on the average, if not maybe lower.
We're the fourth lowest compared to the top 20 cities, correct. So that's San Francisco, you know, large California cities, East Coast, and so forth.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining us. Catherine, I don't want you to go away, but I want you guys to stay with us too, because I'm going to recap first the Phoenix Water Open House schedule. Monday, November 9th at 91st Avenue Wastewater Treatment Plant. Begins at 9 a.m. Friday, November 13th at the Phoenix City Hall Assembly Rooms A and B, beginning at noon. On Thursday, November 19th at Deer Valley Water Treatment Plant, beginning at 6 p.m. And on Monday, November 30th at the 24th Street Water Treatment Plant. Meeting begins at 5 p.m. Remember, the open houses are for you to gather information or you to comment on the proposed water rate increase. Interested residents can sign up for the open houses by going to phoenix.gov/water. All you have to do is click on the water rates or email watersmart@phoenix.gov. Stay with us. Up next, find out how the proposed water rate increase would be used.
Want to know more about your Phoenix tap water and sewer services? Visit phoenix.gov/water and click the At Your Service box to learn about where your tap water comes from, how we make sure it's high quality, easy ways to pay your monthly water, sewer, garbage, and recycling bill, and a variety of other service-related topics. Phoenix Tap Water, at your service.
If you're just joining us now, we're talking about the proposed water rate increase with Water Director Catherine Sorensen, and Troy Hayes is now joining us. He's the Water Service Assistant Director. Thank you both for joining us again. Thank you again, Catherine, for being here, and thank you so much for what you do for us for the city and the wonderful water we have here. Troy, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background and your qualifications as an engineer with the city.
Sure. Well, I have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Arizona, and I've been in the water wastewater industry for over 20 years. I've been with the city about 15 years or so, where I started out as an engineer looking after the water and wastewater treatment plants, and then eventually moved up to now I'm responsible for all the engineering aspects of our drinking water, as well as the maintenance and operation of our drinking water systems.
My goodness, that is a lot. So let's talk about the infrastructure and how are these proposed rates going to impact your world with the infrastructure?
As Catherine alluded to earlier, most of our rates go towards rehabilitation and looking at the infrastructure and making sure that it's reliable for our customers so that when they turn on that tap every day, there's something coming out. And so most of our capital improvement program is set towards looking at aging pipelines, the aging plants and other things like that, and making sure that equipment works every day.
There you go. Well, Catherine, how old is that infrastructure?
Right, well,
We're a fairly young city.
We are a fairly young city, but we've been serving water for more than 100 years. So we do have pipelines in the ground that are 80 years old. Our water treatment plants were basically built after World War II. They're not quite as old, but they need a lot of replacement. They need rehabilitation. They need constant maintenance. And that's where most of the money in the utility goes, is towards making sure, as Troy said, that these reliable that these deliveries are reliable for our customers.
And I think you said the key word, and that's maintenance. I mean, with the old infrastructure and then just constant maintaining, and that money, that proposed money, if in fact it does get approved. And I want to touch base again with you, Kathleen, because we haven't talked about that. What is the process? This proposed water rate increase. We're going to get comments and some from residents. How does that go through? It goes to council, goes to mayor, and give us the process.
Right. So actually, just this week we presented to the Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee so that they were aware of what we plan to do. We're going to go out the whole month of November and talk to our residents, to our customers, and then in early December we go back to the full City Council and ask at that time for them to post a notice of intent to raise rates. And then approximately a month later, if we're successful, the Phoenix City Council would vote to increase rates. Rates would then become effective March 1st of 2016.
Okay, and I do want to add again too for our viewers too, we're talking about $1.59, $1.60.
That's right.
So again, less than a cup of coffee nowadays too. So how is this going to change your world if this does in fact pass, these proposed rates with the infrastructure?
Well, if it passes, we'll move ahead with the plannings that we're already planning for. We have designs ready to go. We have construction that we're planning for over the next 5 years that this rate increase will help us move forward with. If it doesn't move ahead, and that's where it kind of gets a little more tricky, is then we have to then reprioritize our work and try to figure out other ways to accomplish what we need to accomplish.
But we're talking about efficiency as well. We're talking about really in the long run saving the city money. With new infrastructure, we're not spending money on maintenance and constant repairs, and the water is still going to be pristine, unbelievable water quality, I'm sure, but I'm sure there's other changes that are going to impact
Right,
you,
so a lot of what we're talking about is trying to predict when these pipes are going to fail. And so what we have is this plan that we've done through our asset management program, which we've gone out and we're evaluating the pipelines that we have and trying to get the optimal time to replace them and to make sure that we have that infrastructure ready, and so that we're making smart decisions today for our customers as well as our future customers.
That's right.
And I would say, keep in mind, it's a lot cheaper to replace a pipeline that is aging before it breaks than to respond to it and have to deal with it after the fact.
And that's like anything. You're just constantly putting a Band-Aid on something, and ultimately you spent all this extra money when you could have just bought, yeah, we get it. So, well, thank you both for joining us today. Thank you for explaining that, the proposed water rate increase and how it's going to impact our residents, through the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now remember, these open houses are for you to gather information or to comment on the proposed water rate increase. Interested residents can sign up for the open houses by going to phoenix.gov/water. Click on the water rates or email watersmart@phoenix.gov. For City Update, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan.